Welcome back to our channel, Soap Fans. Today is Tuesday, a beautiful day to dive deep into the latest drama unfolding in Salem. If you missed today's broadcast of Days of Our Lives, don't worry, because we have a comprehensive and detailed breakdown of everything that happened. Let's get right into the action and unpack all the shocking twists and turns from today's episode. The episode opens with the introduction of a completely new and highly eccentric character to the Salem canvas, Devlin Saint. John. Devlin arrives in town with an air of absolute mystery and a penchant for elaborate scheming, immediately establishing himself as a formidable force in the ongoing corporate and political machinations of the city. Taking on the incredibly crucial role of Salem's water commissioner, Devlin is thrust directly into the epicenter of the latest catastrophic scandal to rock the town. As longtime viewers will recall, the recent crisis involving the drugged drinking water has caused widespread panic across Salem. Devlin appears to be the exact kind of opportunistic fixer that someone like E.J. DiMera would seek out. The sheer eccentricity of Devlin's character adds a fascinating new layer to the show's political landscape, as he navigates the murky waters of Salem's infrastructure with a hidden agenda. DiMera is currently juggling the catastrophic failure of Lexi's resurrection, the terrifying reality that Kristen DiMera has escaped his shipping container trap, and his ruthless financial war against Titan. EJ desperately needs the water scandal to vanish overnight. He strikes a dark, clandestine deal with Devlin Saint John to completely cover up the truth about the contaminated water supply. The tension in the DiMera mansion study is palpable as these two men negotiate the price of silence, with EJ utilizing every ounce of his signature DiMera intimidation tactic. However, Devlin proves to be entirely unfazed by EJ's threats, matching the DiMera heir's ruthlessness with a bizarre, almost theatrical confidence that leaves EJ slightly unnerved and wondering if he has finally met his match in political corruption. Devlin's overconfidence hits a massive brick wall when he finally crosses paths with Salem's formidable mayor, Paulina Price. Paulina is in no mood to entertain the evasive double talk of a newly appointed water commissioner. The scenes between Devlin and Paulina are crackling with electric tension as they face off in the mayor's office. Devlin attempts to use his eccentric charm and bureaucratic jargon to distract Paulina from the glaring inconsistencies in the water contamination report. However, he quickly realizes that pulling the wool over the eyes of this particular mayor is a nearly impossible task. Paulina's razor-sharp instincts immediately detect the deception in Devlin's voice, setting the stage for a massive political showdown that could expose EJ's cover-up. Meanwhile, the emotional core of today's episode shifts to a deeply heartbreaking storyline involving the Carver family. Despite the suffocating cloud of tragedy hanging over them, Theo Carver is desperately trying to orchestrate a joyous atmosphere for his father Abe's birthday party. The profound agony of this situation cannot be overstated. Abe is already grappling with the earth-shattering revelation that his beloved wife, Lexi, is rapidly deteriorating after her miraculous resurrection. Theo, carrying the immense psychological weight of his mother's impending demise, makes a heartbreakingly brave decision to hide his own growing, terrifying worries from his father. He pastes on a brave smile, determined to give Abe at least one final, untainted memory of happiness before the inevitable darkness consumes their family once again. Every time Theo looks at his father blowing out the candles or smiling at a shared joke, the audience can see the agonizing toll it is taking on the young man's soul. He is acutely aware of the historical trauma they are about to repeat. In 2012, Theo was just a boy when he lost his mother to a brain tumor caused by the toxic fumes in the DiMera tunnels. Now, as an adult, he is being forced to endure that exact same nightmare all over again. The cruel irony of Lexi being resurrected only to be snatched away from them a second time is a psychological burden that Theo is struggling to bear in silence, making his efforts to maintain a festive facade incredibly tragic. The facade finally begins to crack when Theo pulls Dr. Marlena Evans aside for a highly tense and emotionally charged conversation. Marlena, with her decades of psychiatric expertise and deep maternal affection for the residents of Salem, instantly recognizes the profound distress radiating from Theo. As they step away from the birthday festivities, the tension between them is thick with unspoken fears. Theo desperately interrogates Marlena, seeking any shred of medical hope or reassurance that the nightmare they are living can somehow be reversed. However, Marlena's usually comforting demeanor is replaced by a solemn, heartbroken expression that sends a chill straight down Theo's spine. The silence between them speaks volumes, confirming the young man's absolute worst fears about his mother's failing health. It is during this devastating exchange that Theo finally pieces together the horrific truth. Lexi has already confided in Marlena about her true medical state. Theo realizes with absolute certainty that the experimental resurrection drug, administered by Dr. Rolf and orchestrated by EJ, is completely failing. The miracle has run its course, and the deterioration is irreversible. The sheer magnitude of this realization hits Theo like a physical blow. He understands that EJ's desperate attempts to hide Lexi at the Dimera mansion were not just about buying time, but about concealing a catastrophic scientific failure. The heartbreaking reality that his mother's body is rejecting the very serum that brought her back to life leaves Theo completely shattered, forcing him to confront the agonizing truth of her impending death. The web of Dimera secrets continues to unravel as the episode shifts focus to Kat, who finds herself thrust into the center of the unfolding drama. Kat initially seeks out Marlena for a heavy conversation, likely seeking guidance on how to navigate the treacherous waters of Salem's elite family. However, her attention quickly pivots to Chad Dimera when the burden of a massive secret becomes too heavy to bear alone. Kat recently found herself in the right place at the wrong time, managing to eavesdrop on a highly confidential and explosive conversation involving EJ. What she overheard was nothing short of scandalous. EJ's unilateral and deeply controversial decision to hide the dying Lexi within the walls of the Dimera mansion, manipulating the final days of her life away from the public eye. When Kat finally gathers the courage to reveal this shocking information to Chad, his reaction is one of absolute, unadulterated fury. Chad has always had a complicated relationship with EJ, but this crosses a massive moral boundary. Driven by a desperate need to uncover the full extent of EJ's machinations, Chad makes a highly dangerous and significant request of Kat. He asks for her assistance in executing a daring plan. He wants to sneak into the labyrinthine Dimera tunnels, and he intends to bring Theo along with him. The Dimera tunnels hold a dark, terrifying history for the Carver family, being the very place Lexi was originally poisoned. He believes the tunnels hold the key to uncovering exactly what Dr. Rolf and EJ have been doing, and he needs Kat's help to bypass the mansion's intense security. The ripple effects of this dangerous investigation extend to Belle Black, who finds herself locked in a deeply emotional and contentious debate with her mother, Marlena. Belle is fully aware of Chad's intentions and is fiercely determined to join him in his quest to unearth the latest Dimera secret. She approaches Marlena, desperately trying to convince the seasoned psychiatrist to lend her expertise and support to their upcoming investigation. However, Marlena is entirely consumed by a profound sense of maternal dread. The mere thought of her daughter willingly diving back into the toxic orbit of the Dimera family fills her with absolute terror. Marlena pleads with Belle to walk away and let the old secrets remain buried forever. Despite Marlena's impassioned pleas, Belle remains stubbornly steadfast in her decision. She articulates her reasoning with a fierce, unwavering conviction, explaining exactly why she feels compelled to continue this dangerous relationship and investigative partnership with Chad. Belle argues that the secrets festering within the Dimera mansion are actively harming innocent people, pointing to the tragic situation with Lexi as prime evidence. She refuses to stand by and watch while EJ manipulates the lives of those around him. However, Belle's courageous stance does little to alleviate Marlena's overwhelming anxiety. As she watches her daughter march off toward the Dimera estate, Marlena is gripped by a chilling, inescapable fear that a catastrophic piece of bad news is looming on the horizon for their family. Meanwhile, thousands of miles away from the domestic drama of Salem, a terrifying hostage situation reaches a boiling point in the remote landscape of Alemania. Leo Stark, utilizing every single ounce of his trademark cunning and survival instinct, desperately attempts to negotiate with his unhinged captor, Dmitri von Leuschner. The psychological warfare between these two men is incredibly intense. Dmitri, completely consumed by his dark obsession, presents Leo with a twisted, horrifying ultimatum. He genuinely believes that he and Leo can forge a beautiful future together, but only on one utterly unacceptable condition. Dmitri insists that he must be allowed to completely let Gwen Rizchek go, effectively removing her from the equation. The sheer madness in Dmitri's eyes sends a wave of absolute terror through Leo. The power dynamics in this claustrophobic Alemanian setting are entirely skewed in Dmitri's favor. Holding all the literal and figurative cards, Dmitri revels in his absolute control over his two terrified hostages. Recognizing that their current location might be compromised, Dmitri makes a chilling executive decision. He absolutely insists on forcibly relocating both Leo and Gwen to a brand new, highly fortified hideout that he has been cryptically hinting at for days. The sheer panic sets in for Gwen and Leo as they realize that if Dmitri successfully moves them to this secondary location, they may completely vanish from the face of the earth. Dmitri's ultimate goal is to ensure that his captives are never, ever found by the authorities, erasing them from existence to enact his twisted fantasies. However, Dmitri's meticulously crafted plan for ultimate control is about to hit a massive, unexpected roadblock in the form of Salem's most dedicated law enforcement officer. Just as Dmitri begins the terrifying process of moving his hostages, physically intimidating Leo and Gwen towards their doom, a beacon of hope emerges from the shadows. Ray Fernandez, having defied all odds and geographical boundaries, has finally tracked them down. Bursting onto the scene with his weapon drawn and his righteous fury ignited, Rafe is perfectly positioned to completely ruin Dmitri's psychotic plan. The episode concludes on this incredibly high-stakes cliffhanger, leaving viewers practically screaming at their television screens as Rafe prepares to engage in a deadly showdown to secure the freedom of Leo Stark and Gwen Rizchek.